Fellow readers, and welcome to 2023. I am so excited to be back in front of the camera, and one of my goals, this is not a goals video, but one of my goals for the year is to get back into making videos and being more of an active part of the booktube community. I've been gone for many years, burnt out, and then, had kids and all of those things. And now I feel like I'm in a spot. I know I've said I'm coming back many times over the last few years, but I feel like I'm in a spot where my kids are in a good routine. I am starting to read a lot more, so I actually have content to talk about. And I feel like I have a good vision or just a renewed passion for making videos. So what better way to kick off the first of the year, my new entrance into the booktube community, than to start off with a book haul? Because, what doesn't scream booktube more than a book haul? Now, this is not about books that I purchased. We don't have a huge budget to buy books, and so I don't buy a whole lot of books. I'm very stingy with the books that I do buy because I want to make sure that they're books that I'm going to read or they're from authors that I love. So when I go to the library where it's free and I can pick any book I want and take it home and read it, go a little overboard. I always check out more books than I could possibly read in the 3 weeks, which actually turns into a month and a half. No, turns into 2 months that I could possibly have these books in my possession. It's more books than I could, maybe not possibly read, but probably read. With all that said, let's just jump into the books that I acquired at the library. So I went into the library to pick up 2 books, and I came out with 6. Yes, came out with 6 books. The first 2 books that I came out with are books that are on my TBR for this month. The first book being 8 Perfect Hours by Leah Louise. This is a book that is on my current TBR for the New Year New Reads readathon. I'm also buddy reading this with Elizabeth from Ponytails and Paperbacks, along with 2 other ladies. I will link their Instagram handles, YouTube channels down below. I'm having absolute blast buddy reading this with them. The book is about Noelle, who is on the motorway in London, and a snowstorm hits and they are stuck in traffic for hours. And of course her car charger is broken, and so her phone is dead and she needs desperately to, make a phone call. And what happens but a knock on the window and a gentleman asking, hey, would you like to come and use my car charger? Do you need anything? And so she ends up coming into Sam's car and sitting with him for the duration of the time they're in traffic, and just have a great conversation, and then they go on their separate ways. But over the next several months, year or so, they keep bumping into each other. And it's just their story. It's much more than that. There is family issues and grief and friendship, and it really was just a beautiful book. So I highly recommend actually listening to the audiobook for this. The narrator really does pull out Noelle's character and just brings her to life. And where I could see that you could get a little annoyed with Noelle reading it, listening to it, I feel like just brings something else to it, and it's English accents, so there's that. So that is 8 Perfect Hours. The second book that I picked up from the library is for my In Life book club, and that is Return to Me by Lynn Austen. And this book is a historical fiction, and it's a retelling of a story in the Old Testament, an imaginative retelling of one of the stories in the Old Testament. So I'm looking forward to reading this, and I just love our book club. Like we talk about the book we read, but also it's just a good excuse to get away and have good female conversation. So if you're not part of a book club, I highly recommend getting an in real life, in person book club, because even though I love all of the buddy reading online, and it's fantastic, and I hope to grow more friendships, but there's just something about talking to someone face to face in person. It's fantastic. So looking forward to picking that up. So after I picked up the 2 books that I went into the library for, I just started browsing and just pulling books off the shelf. And the first two books that I picked, they are books that are centered around some type of writer, screenplay writers. One of them is Here for the Drama by Kate Bromley, and this follows a playwright. She wants to become a famous playwright, but she has to pay her dues, and it's a romance disaster type book, and it just sounds really cute, and it's set in London, so always love a good book that's set in London. The next book that I picked up is Talk Bookish to Me by the same author, Kate Bromley, and this follows Kara, who is a romance author, and she is getting ready to help with her best friend's wedding, but she's on deadline and she hasn't written any words for it, and then she finds out that her first love is coming to the wedding or is part of the wedding, and so it seems like a second chance romance, a author who's trying to write a next book but has no inspiration, and so just seems like such a good book. And I really do love a book about someone who is an author, writer, because that's really my passion, that's what I do, and so it's fun to see it in a character. So I'm looking forward to picking this book up. And then the next two books that I found are books that have one of my favorite storylines, and that is when two people switch bodies. It's so unbelievable, and there's so many questions of like, is it awkward to be in someone else's body? And I just love it because I know that I can't be the only one that has always wondered, what would it be like to be that person? Like, what does their day-to-day life look like? What would it be like to be whatever? And so it's just, I love it. And so the first book that I found is Drop Dead Gorgeous by Rachel Gibson. This follows Eddie, who lives in a small town, and she somehow gets a second chance to do life, but she has to do it in the body of Brittany, who is a wealthy suburbanite in Michigan. And so she goes from Texas to living in Michigan, and so it just seems like a lot of fun, and again, it's that switching lives storyline that I absolutely love. And the next book that I picked up that has two people switching lives is The 7-Day Switch by Kelly Harms, and this is about two ladies. One is a stay-at-home mom who is perfectly happy being a stay-at-home mom, and then it is about a mom who works outside of the home and is perfectly happy working outside of the home, but they both feel judged by the other, which I think is very fair. Like, no matter what moms do, they get judged. Anyway, so something happens and they end up switching, and through their time being switched, they realize that maybe they weren't seeing everything from the other's life, which is also very true. So I'm very interested in picking this up and seeing how the author does this, and I'm hoping it's beautiful and wonderful and so much fun. So that is The 7-Day Switch. Apparently I don't know how to count, and I actually picked up 7 books, not 6. And the last book that I picked up has my other favorite storyline, and that is when you get stuck in the same timeline and you just have to figure out, how do I get out of this? Why am I in this? What do I do? How can I fix this? And I'm very excited about picking this book up, and that is See You Yesterday by Rachel Lynn Solomon. Now, I read her book yesterday, today, and tomorrow, or something along those lines. I read that last year, and I wasn't the biggest fan of the ending of that book, but I did enjoy her writing and her storytelling, so I have high hopes for this book, and it has probably the favorite storyline that I have. Like, I love these kind of storylines in books, and especially in like Hallmark Christmas movies. So good. And so I'm looking forward to this. It's about this girl who, she experiences like the worst day of her life, and then she wakes up the next morning and it's the same day. But then when she goes into class and sees this guy that made her day yesterday horrible, she realizes he's been stuck in this timeline for like 40 days or 70 days, a really long time. So they join together to figure out what's going on and how they can fix it. And so I'm really looking forward to picking this book up. And I'm excited because this is the only YA book on my stack, and I really do enjoy YA books because I don't know. I just love the angst about them, but they also typically tend to be a little bit easier reads, and I'm looking forward to picking this book up. So those are these 7 books that I picked up at the library, and I always have high hopes that I am going to read everything that I pick up from the library. And I tend to read at least half of the books that I check out, and then I always have one. So I usually have like one dud that I'm like, that just wasn't for me, and then the rest go back to the library, and maybe one day the hopes that I will recheck them out. So let me know if you've read any of these books and maybe which ones I should prioritize, or if you have a book that you're like, I want to read that, let's buddy read that. Please let me know. I really do enjoy a good buddy read. Love it. Because it just makes this solitary, really fun activity. It makes it even more fun when you get to talk to other people about the books that you love and hear their opinions, and it's just so wonderful. So, hey guys, I hope you're having a great start to your January, to your new year. Let me know down below any great reads that you've already read this year, any reads that you think, hey, you should put that on your list, and anything else you want to talk about down in the comments below. I hope you're having a great reading month, and I will see you on the flip side. Bye!